So y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to. I'm going to answer with the same answer. So y'all can shoot if y'all please. I'm here so I won't get fined. I'm here so I won't get fined. I'm here so I won't get fined. I'm here so I won't get fined.
That was beast mode. We are here because we want to be here. If they tried to fine us, Sarah, there'd be nothing to take. But Super Bowl 58 LVIII is here. It's in Vegas, and we're pumped up.
We are, and what a way to start. I really love a beast mode throwback. That was hilarious.
Well, I knew you love. I know you love beast mode, and you have been able to overcome some obstacles with kids and work, and a husband who's sometimes working, sometimes home, sometimes locked into the NFL. So I'm actually holding a football here that's signed by Beast Mode, and that's I'm going to flick that down to Torquay. I think you would appreciate that more than I would. So, there's your pay for 2023/2024. I got this football from a friend who got it signed for me. I actually thought so. I've had two encounters with Marshawn Lynch, Skittles, and we will talk about the Super Bowl shortly. The one where I didn't get the football signed, the one there where he was at a party, he was there with Marcus Peters, who's apparently his cousin, and my lordy, he was drunk.
Oh, well, it's interesting that you say that. If it was around about the same time that I met Beast Mode, I was producing a radio show called The Hot Breakfast for Triple M in Melbourne. And we were so excited that we had secured an interview with Beast Mode. So he arrives at 8 o'clock in the morning. He's either hungover or still inebriated. He proceeds to go and lie down on the couch and says, "Wake me when I need to go on air." And he had an entourage of about 12 people. The whole thing was just an amazing, thrilling spectacle. And then afterwards, someone from his entourage was like, "Hey, we're having a party tonight. You should come." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there." I did absolutely not go. I was petrified. But it was a very exciting experience to meet the one and only Marshawn Lynch.
Absolutely, absolutely. But Media Day, of course, Super Bowl 58, the Chiefs and the Niners. I don't know whether you made a pick at the start of the season. Is it anywhere close to where we've landed? Because I've tried to go back through some of our podcasts because I feel like I picked Kansas City and San Francisco to go back and reclash, have a rematch, which would only be the 9th ever. I think I did. Did you pick a couple of teams to make it to this last day?
I know that I was on the Eagles, so I definitely got that wrong. But I do think I had the Eagles and the Chiefs. I wasn't as confident about the 49ers. You have sort of been more confident than me throughout the season. But yeah, I've got it so wrong with the Eagles. That was a terrible fall from grace.
It was. They've got some questions to answer across the off-season, but we'll lock into the Super Bowl because we are looking forward to it. We're sitting here on a Thursday, so a few days away. Of course, the game gets underway at 10:30 Monday. They're telling me, Sarah, now you've followed this from the States and from here in Australia. They're saying that at the Sporting Globe, that across Australia, around Australia, they're expecting 12,000 people to be in those venues nationwide. That just shows now on a work day for a sport that's a million miles away, that just shows that the Super Bowl is the real deal in this country.
Well, I absolutely love that because, 10 years ago, people would be like, what Super Bowl? Like it was not on the radar at all. And it has been really exciting to see the growth. And you either go to a sports bar or you go to a barbecue or you do something now on Super Bowl Monday, as we coin it here in Australia.
Absolutely. And as I said, sort of the teams fly in, they arrive. The Chiefs were flying as the Grammys were on, which was troublesome for our man Travis Kelce. But I think the official opening is Media Day or Media Night. And what we love about the American athletes and particularly the NFL stars, Sarah, is just how open they are, how willing they are. Can you imagine, we have a captain and coach press conference before a grand final, but can you imagine how bland and boring it would be if you put all 22 AFL players up from both teams before a grand final? They would say nothing, but the NFL stars are more than happy to speak their mind.
That's right. And this week leading up to the Super Bowl is absolutely insane in terms of their schedule. I was part of a traveling media pack a few years ago at the Super Bowl, and they would send you a press release of the availability. They would show you which hotel each team is staying at. They would write a list of, okay, you can access this player at this time. And the Super Bowl that I covered was the LA Rams and the New England Patriots. So it was like, hey, you can see Tom Brady at 4 o'clock at this podium, or Bill Belichick or Aaron Donald. Like, it's crazy, the access. I wonder if it's fatiguing for the players to have to front up and keep, answering all these questions from all over the world. And poor Travis Kelce, like every other question that he gets is about Taylor Swift, but he's handled it beautifully. But I wonder, do you think that it would have an impact? It would be sort of fatiguing to have all of that media attention in the lead up to the big dance?
I think they get it. Having it on I think it was a Monday night in the States works perfectly because the game's still so far away. You've got plenty of time to get, if you're one of those players who is really regimented and rigid with the way you want to prepare, well, your preparation's still yet to start, really, isn't it? Monday night, typically when you play week to week, you've played Monday/Monday night, you're kind of recovering and looking after yourself anyway. So getting up there and speaking and having a bit of fun, then you still got Tuesday and onwards for your preparation. So I think they plan it beautifully. And there were some clips that I want to play that were fantastic. But before that, we're going to play one which is from your personal stash. So you were able to organise for Gary Lyon when you were assisting with SEN when they were over there. You were able to organise Gary Lyon and Travis Kelce to have a little bit of a walk and talk. Before we play it, how did you manage to make that happen?
Radio Row is so crazy. It's just one of those things where at any moment, any NFL or celebrity, well-known celebrity could be walking past. And I just happened to see that Travis Kelce was walking through and the Chiefs had just lost to the Patriots in the championship game. And I just saw this big, cool dog walking through and I literally dragged Gary and was like, this is our moment. So we just had to walk with him, threw a microphone in his face. I was filming it. I think we got 2 minutes with him and it was awesome.
Absolutely, it was. And the beauty of post-production, something you know about, Rowan's going to drop some of that in. So here is Sarah organising Gary Lyon and Travis Kelce. A little walk and talk through Radio Row. Have a look.
Gary, how you doing? How the States treat you, man?
It's been great. A little bit chillier than
How you don't like the cold, man?
It was 120 in Australia when I left.
It makes you feel like you're alive, man. Come on, now.
Hey, huge fan. Well done on the year. How hard is it to come along when you were so close?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult, man. But at the end of the day, what you got to do is you got to man up and try and get better and better every single year. And learn from your mistakes in the past. And sure enough, that's all you can kind of put together now. You just got to enjoy the moments.
Hey, we love watching your team and love watching yourself at Patrick Mahomes. I mean, what can you tell us about him? Who scares the ceiling?
I mean, it's the sky's the limit, man. He's gone through the ceiling. The sky is the limit. Unbelievable player, even better person, man. Love the guy to death. Sure enough, I'm already ready to gear it up for next year with him.
Hey, Australian rules football cues. I'm looking at you. You would be absolutely perfect for it. Do you know anything about it?
Oh yeah, my father used to play back in the day. I forget what position he told me he used to play, but it was before I was born. But yeah, I actually grew up snapping a rugby ball before I even touched the football.
Yeah.
Hey, tell us about Rob Monkowski, who plays in the same position as you, and we're all a bit fascinated. I mean, do you measure yourself with him throughout the year, or does he measure himself against you?
I think it's vice versa. We're both very competitive in what we do, and we're both trying to be the best tight end for our teams. And that's the biggest thing you can do is see how accountable a guy is. The stats are one thing, but how accountable a guy is for his team throughout the run game and all aspects of the game. I think we both kind of look around the league, not just at each other, but all the guys that are really doing well. I've got something here.
Absolutely.
Sarah.
Yo.
Another Tim Tam. This is a local delicacy, right? I know you're in the off season, you're looking after your diet.
No, are you kidding?
I want you to take a couple of
I can enjoy this.
These are as good as Australia. So have a look at it. Could be the secret. Could be the reason you
I can do another one now.
put one in your pocket for later.
That thing's gonna melt.
Hey, thanks so much for
I've
tuning in.
had that problem one too many times.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. It's really appreciated.
Enjoy it.
So pretty cool, Sarah. I know you were the one behind the camera, not in front of the camera, but a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, very cool experience. He couldn't have been lovelier, and just that whole Radio Row vibe, like I will never forget it. It was insane.
Well, he got Media Day off to a flyer because he and George Kittle spent a lot of time on stage together. They also spent a lot of time at their own podiums talking about each other. They've got a great friendship, and they were both on stage at the same time. And you could tell there was a big Niners contingent in the house. And this is the way Travis Kelce responded on the stage when the Niners fans started to give him a bit of grief.
And it's been an absolute. Y'all are firing me up, making me want to play right now, baby. I love the boos more than I love the cheers, baby. Keep them coming, Niners gang. Keep them coming.
So again, just not taunting the opposition, but calling out the opposition, acknowledging the boos. Again, I keep bringing it back to the way we would act as we'd pretend it's not happening, but just cool to see guys just being themselves and having fun with it, Sarah.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually think it's pretty dumb by the 49ers fans to be booing Kelce. Why fire that guy up, as if he needs any more motivation?
Absolutely. Brock Purdy was, of course, the center of attention as well. And I thought he was the MVP of Media Day, whatever that stands for and means. But he was so classy. So many questions about, do you feel worthy? Are you the weak link? People think you are the weak link. How do you handle it? He was asked about, being the centerpiece to the Niners offense, asked about the quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him. And these were a couple of his answers. I just thought he was absolutely sensational.
I mean, the bottom line is, like, life isn't about you. Like, that's what I believe, being a part of something bigger than yourself. You get wrapped up in getting all the glory and the fame and the status. I feel like that's a shallow life, and that can, fade away pretty quickly. So for me, it's, obviously, yeah, we're playing the Super Bowl. I'm very honored and thankful. I want to win a championship for this organization, but more than anything, I'm, trying to just serve my guys on this team well and love on them well, and the whole organization and everyone in my life. That's how I view it. So
I absolutely love it. He was also asked, as I mentioned, to try and reel off the quarterbacks who were picked ahead of him. Of course, he was the last pick in the draft, and he was asked by NFL Network reporter, can you name them? And he gave, again, another classy response. Have a listen.
In the NFC Championship game, you guys beat up on the Detroit Lions. They have a wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, he's famous for knowing all the 16 wide receivers that got drafted before him, all right? There were 8 quarterbacks that got drafted before you. Can you name them and what school they went to?
No, I'm not. Yeah, honestly, I'm not that kind of guy. I know a couple of the guys that got drafted before me, but I've never held a grudge for it or anything. I'm a believer that, God has a plan for everybody, and I fell last for a reason. And so I haven't held any grudges against other teams. It all happened how it needed to, and I'm blessed to be part of the 49ers.
So, Sarah, he's just a classy dude. Clearly, he's got great faith in religion, and we see that with a lot of the American athletes, but he was class personified, and he just feels like he's made of the right stuff when it comes down to, I guess, life in general, but playing quarterback for the 49ers.
Yeah, and you know what I like about him in those clips is he's real. He understands in the grand scheme of things where football lies. And he's had a cool, calm head on him all year. And I don't think he's going to get spooked by the Super Bowl. He seems like he's very together and in the zone.
Absolutely. And the last one that we'll play is Patrick Mahomes. And I think this is pretty succinct. He doesn't say it. He doesn't say it with any venom. He doesn't, he's a very nice guy, Mahomes. He seems like a really nice dude. But he's asked about, being the underdog and what it feels like to be the team that is counted out and the quarterback that is counted out. Have a listen to Patrick Mahomes' pretty cool response.
Yeah, I think you approach like any other game. I never feel like the underdog. I always feel like we have a chance to win the football game, and that's how we approach every single game. Or we were underdogs in the last Super Bowl. So all you can do is just have that same mindset of just going out there playing your best football and hoping that you end up with a win.
So to me, that I never feel like the underdog because I'm the best player in the field. Now, he didn't say that. I can say it for him because it's the damn truth. And this is why I was keen on the Chiefs to beat the Ravens. He is the best player on the field whilst he's on the field. Now, the Niners will have a plan to keep him on the bench, but It would be amazing to have that level of confidence because you're that good.
I know. And what's the most important thing? You have to back yourself, right? And who cares about what happened in the regular season? Because during the playoffs, Mahomes has been flawless. And he's trying to show everybody, yes, I can do it on the road, I can do it off the road, I can do it as an underdog, I can do it as a favorite. Doesn't matter. I'm going to show up every time and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, and he does. And I've got a feeling he will. So let's have a closer look at who we think will win the game. Of course, the San Francisco 49ers, they were incredibly dominant throughout the season. They went into Philly. That felt like the real big game for them. They went to Philly and they beat up on Philadelphia, and that was the one for me where I thought, well, okay, they're the real deal this time. So they come in off the back of a dominant regular season, but let's say they were favored by double digits in both playoff games, or at least a touchdown or more. They fell in. Now, they'll probably take a lot from those games because they had to overcome deficits, but their season has been so great. They've been really good for a long time under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Of course, they made the Super Bowl in 2020, but Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback back then. So the Niners are in great shape. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, the list goes on, Sarah. So I love the Niners and I'm glad they're back.
Yeah, and I mean, the question marks that we're going to have going into San Francisco would be, I would say, around Deebo Samuel and his health and their defense, because it's one thing to be good and to be consistent all through the regular season, but now, this is when it's going to count, right?
Well, it's quite ironic. I was listening to our man, Colin Cowherd, and he made a great point that the brand of these two teams is actually off the mark. So Kansas City, I guess, branded as a Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid, around the back passes, underhand passes, all this cool offensive stuff, but they're actually a defensive team. They only scored 17 points in the AFC championship game. Whereas the Niners, a lot of the conversation about them, sure, they've got McCaffrey and Deebo and those guys, but a lot of the conversation about San Francisco when they had D'Amico Ryans as their defensive coordinator was they're physical, they'll hit you in the face. Nick Bosa, Chase Young, a great defensive line. They have absolutely bled yards and points late in the season. The Lions scored 3 rushing touchdowns, had 182 rushing yards. They ran the ball as they liked, and Jared Goff put up 300 yards as well. So the brand of both teams is a little bit off.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting, because if I had have told you that Kansas City's defense at this point of the season, they're second in points allowed per game, I would have thought that would be more of a San Francisco statistic. But you look at Kansas City and what they were able to do with the Ravens and held them to only 10 points. So, the Chiefs, to hold the Ravens to only 10 points.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking that's going to be one of the keys in this Super Bowl moving forward. It's
a fascinating clash between two teams who have probably evolved, haven't they? Kansas City played some terrible football at different stages. They lost to Vegas at Arrowhead. That feels like a long time ago, but they feel very much like the Patriots did at different stages, where they'd start really average, poorly even. They'd get better and better the longer the season went on. And once the playoffs come around, once the snow started to fall, they were able to flick that switch. And I guess that's probably the maturity that Mahomes is showing. He's 28. He's looking for his 3rd ring. I saw a stat this morning. If Mahomes wins this Super Bowl, he will be the only NFL player ever. He joins a list of Major League Baseballers and NBA players that is just unbelievable. The only NFL player ever in the first 7 seasons of a career to have 3 Super Bowl championships and 2 MVPs. So we already know this, but he is on the cusp of greatness.
That is crazy, isn't it? And isn't it interesting now that people are already starting to have those conversations about Mahomes and Tom Brady and who's going to be the better quarterback? And even, Mahomes getting asked at media day, how are you going to get 7 rings? How are you going to get where Brady got to? But it is interesting when you talk about the regular season and then when it's time to sort of turn it up, because Brady and Belichick used to always say when Thanksgiving comes around, like they needed to win enough games up to Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving was always the signal that, okay, now we go up a notch.
Yeah, time to lock in. So that's a quick look at both teams. McCaffrey's season has been incredible. He's the one that's that's different from, and the reason I don't put much or any stock into the rematch or what happened last time, because it was 3 or 4 years ago, but McCaffrey, 2,000 plus yards, rushing, receiving, 21 touchdowns. He's had 4 touchdowns in the playoffs, so 25 touchdowns through his 20 games this year, 19 games this year. So he's been off the charts. He is just a difference maker. But yeah, I can't wait for this game. A couple of fun stats. There's so many. I've been spending so much time just scrolling the internet, looking at stats and facts and figures. But I think one of the coolest is, I guess, the different paths that the quarterbacks have taken to get here. So Brock Purdy makes 870 grand a year. Patrick Mahomes has a 10-year contract worth about 480 million. So it's a pretty big difference, 52.5 million per annum versus 870 grand. Now, you and I can live off 870 grand, but it is a big discrepancy considering the fact that these are the two most important players in this game.
Oh, absolutely. And he would have to be the cheapest quarterback to ever win the Super Bowl. I know Mahomes was a rookie when he won, but he was earning a bit over $1 million, I think. But yeah, I mean, that's wild. But I mean, I guess what comes along with that is that there's less expectation that Purdy's going to get it done, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of how much they get paid, so I found this stat really cool, and it kind of just reminded me again that do not doubt Patrick Mahomes. So in the salary cap era, only 2 quarterbacks in the history of the game have won the Super Bowl when their salary takes up 13% or more of the total salary cap. One was Steve Young, ironically, a San Francisco 49ers quarterback. The other was Mahomes last year. So only 2 ever. So Mahomes ticks that box. And then on the flip side, only 6 quarterbacks have ever won a Super Bowl whilst playing on a rookie contract. Eli Manning, Big Ben, Tom Brady, of course, your man Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, which only kind of counts because he was injured and didn't play in the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes. So he has ticked both boxes, which again, to me, just solidifies we are talking about a special individual. So pretty cool little stat. Purdy, of course, is trying to add to that list and make it 7. But whichever one, if Mahomes wins, he can tick both boxes again.
You really have been going deep, haven't you, with your research and your stats? But I like it. I like it, JJ.
I have. And this is the last one I'll give you before we make our picks, our MVP, and we get out of here. So this is more so, I guess, about the from a betting trends point of view, or covering the spread. Now, you know, in the States, Sarah, that the spread is almost as important as who wins and loses over there. So Kansas City are 5-0 against the spread in their past 5. Now, that correlates with their form. Even though they've been underdogs, they've been able to cover the spread in those games. San Francisco was zipping 3 in their past 3. As I mentioned earlier, they were a touchdown or more favorite against Green Bay and the Lions. They only fell in. So they are zipping 3 against the spread in their past 3. And only 3 teams have ever made the Super Bowl when they are zipping 3 against the spread. So probably just speaks to the form of both teams when you weigh that up against what Vegas thinks. And Vegas, Sarah, are rarely, really wrong.
I know. And didn't you have a story actually didn't you read something about Tony Romo in Vegas this week?
Yeah, well, it talks to, and you've spent more time over there than me. Las Vegas for a long time, Allegiant Stadium. Good luck to those who got a ticket at about 44 grand a pop. It speaks to the change in mindset because I remember I was reading again. I've done a lot of reading this week. Tony Romo was trying to conduct or be a part of a fantasy football activation, and the NFL blocked it because it was across the road from one of the casinos. So that's where we started, and now we're playing the Super Bowl in Vegas, and there's, of course, betting involvement all over the place. I took a screenshot the other day. They're expecting $26 billion, I think it is, to be wagered on the game. $23.1 billion on the game. 26% of the United States are expected to have a bet on the game. So 1 in 4 people and $23 billion. That's enough to rescue a few small countries, Sarah.
Yeah, that is crazy. I actually have a quick Tony Romo story, if you'll indulge me.
Sure.
When I was at the Super Bowl, obviously being part of the media, I got to ask Tony Romo and Jim Nantz a question because CBS were broadcasting that year. And I asked a question of something about, you know, the color commentators or whatever. And they laughed at me and they were like, you guys watch the Super Bowl in Australia? Like they couldn't believe that somebody was representing Australia and that we cared enough to ask a question. And then they asked me, how are we going to be watching the game? Are we watching on the internet? Like, do we have internet in Australia? They were laughing at me. But this is maybe 2019, so a few years ago now.
Well, Romo's on the call and with CBS, and he's under a bit of pressure himself. If you followed along, of course, he exploded onto the scene with his ability to predict the plays and all these sorts of things. And I guess a more casual style of color of play-by-play and special comments, as we'd call them out here. But he's for whatever reason, I haven't noticed a massive difference in the way he calls the games, but he's under extreme pressure to perform. He's got a monstrous contract, and I guess that's probably the reason. When he started out, he's probably getting not much, and now he's getting a massive amount of money. They expect more, but he's under some pressure to do his best and predict a couple of plays during this game as well.
I know, and you know what social media is like. He could call 200 amazing plays or give 200 really sharp, astute observation. He gets one thing wrong. Oh, Romo, you know, you should die. You're an idiot. Like, it's just so extreme, isn't it, with social media now? And I guess with a big contract and maybe the novelty factor has worn off, you know, there come sort of big expectations.
Absolutely. All right, let's get down to business, because we both have things we need to do away from the Super Bowl, believe it or not. I will start from the top. Your winner and a score line, if you could, please.
Yeah, hard to go past the Chiefs. So I'm going to lock in Kansas City Chiefs, and my score line is going to be 21 Chiefs to the San Francisco 49ers 13.
Oh, low scoring. So you're expecting it to be low scoring as well. I am also with the Chiefs. So we're both with the Chiefs. I'm going to go 24-22. I don't have a great feel. Sometimes you have a great feeling about the pick and the scoreline. I don't have a great feeling about it, but 24-22, we'd both be more than happy to see it 38-35. We'd love to see that. But yeah, both expecting the Chiefs to win and the scores to be relatively low. Super Bowl MVP speaks for itself. If San Francisco win the game, who do you think the Super Bowl MVP will be?
I would like it to go to Brock Purdy or Christian McCaffrey. I think either one of those two would be a solid choice.
I've got a smoky. I think if he's healthy, and it's amazing what NFL teams can do in 2 weeks versus 1 week. If Deebo Samuel's healthy, he just strikes me as a guy who he might score a rushing touchdown. He might score a receiving touchdown. He might get, 60, 70, 80 yards in both categories. If he could do that, he might win it. Now, Damian Harris, I'm going to say Harris, it might be Williams, from the Patriots, was completely ripped off in that big comeback. He scored 3 touchdowns, 200 yards, and Brady still got the MVP. So they do really want to give it to the quarterbacks. But I could see Deebo Samuel if it was a really rough result. I could see Deebo Samuel and obviously Christian McCaffrey as well. First touchdown, we love this, like our first goal scorer in the AFL Grand Final. Who do you think will be the first touchdown scorer?
I'm going to go with Rashee Rice. I have enjoyed the second part of his season, and I think that would be a fun one.
You got to nab him for fantasy football next year. I think.
Oh, I know.
On the back of a Super Bowl run, whether they win or lose, I think he'll be a genuine WR1 at next year. I'm going to go with Deebo, so I'm all chips in on Deebo. I love him. I think he gives you a couple of different ways to score that first touchdown. So he's my pick. And now this is the last one before we get out of here. Now, I know you're keen for the Eras Tour. My wife is just beside herself about it. You've never seen a 35-year-old woman just go gaga. The line from Vegas is 7.5. More or less? Do we see Taylor Swift on the coverage more than 7.5 times or less?
Listen, more. Like the more the better. TV viewership has never been higher. More girls are watching football than ever before. Honestly, the more the better.
Yeah, I was leaning toward less. I thought there might be some, because there's been a bit of, again, social media backlash about how many times she's been shown. I thought maybe they'd just try and pick their marks and pick their poison and try and get her on for a bit longer, but not necessarily as many times. So I was leaning toward under, but I mean, I'm just still learning about the mania that is Tay-Tay. So it probably will be more. Again, the last thing I read for the week before we get out of here, I was reading that there has been an influx of like style, fashion, women's fashion brands, perfume brands buying up advertising for the Super Bowl because of you know who and the people who are going to be watching because of her. So typically it's, you know, it's Nike, it's Coca-Cola, it's Apple, it's these sporting brands and these big tech brands buying this space for $4.5 million for 30 seconds or whatever it is. But the NFL has seen a big push in terms of like perfume brands and women's style brands because of the people who are going to be watching the game. So again, her power and reach knows no bounds.
Do not underestimate it. She is money and the NFL know it. And also don't forget there's going to be musical performances. So don't be, as a producer, I would want cameras on her when Usher's performing, when the anthem's performing. You know, there's just so many opportunities and I can't wait for all of it.
Are you looking forward to Usher? You can say no.
I am. Usher, baby. No, I am. I'm looking forward to it. I think it will be a good performance. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not jumping for joy about it. I'm not locked and loaded. I think he'll be good, but he's not one of my guys. I'll be honest.
Yeah, but you forget how many bangers he has. I think once he gets out there, you'll be jamming.
Yeah, probably. I'm not really a jammer, but I get what you mean. All right, that's it. We're both with the Chiefs. It's been fun. We'll try and recap next week if we can make it work. But it's been fun. Regardless, I'll put this football in the post. Skittles Lynch signed by. Unless you've already got one of these, you might already have one of these.
I don't. No, send it my way.
All right, this bad boy is getting sent your way, your pay slip for the year. It's been fun. Good luck to the Chiefs because we're both with the Chiefs, but it'll be a great game. And thanks for, if you've been watching, we've uploaded this bad boy onto YouTube. If you've been watching, thanks. Make sure you subscribe. We've got a few subscribers on there, so having a bit of fun with it. And stay tuned because hopefully some AFL stuff coming soon. But Sarah, thank you, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you. It's been real and enjoy your Super Bowl Monday.